Welcome to the Get Trauma Informed podcast, dedicated to unraveling the complexities of trauma, its pervasive impact, and the journey towards holistic recovery and realignment. If your radiance has ever felt muted, like I and thousands of others, you're in the right place to reignite your inner light. I'm your host, Wellness Coach Liz Blanding, and this is the Get Trauma Informed podcast. Well, welcome to another fantastic, amazing episode of Beyond the Battlefield. We're doing a mini series, and we have Mr. Rufus Carpenter, retired from the military, and he is back here to give us another wump of wisdom in this fight that we have going on with military PTSD and civilian complex PTSD. Mr. Rufus Carpenter, today, how are you?
I'm doing very well, Coach Liz. And you?
I am doing fantastic. I am energized and ready to tackle our subject for today.
Okay.
All righty. So we are going to talk about body performance and wellness. And we're going to throw in a little bit about weight gain. And, I think we all deal with this belly fat thing. What is this all about? So you want to kick us off with talking about or getting into the topic of body performance and wellness when it's in relationship to trauma. And so the ball is in your court.
Okay. Before I do that, I want to tell you thank you for having me on, and thank your audience for being a part of this series with us. Because when we talk about PTSD, whether it's civilian or whether it's military, you have to realize that people are suffering. And a lot of people, our comrades and partners and friends and family are suffering in silence. When that happens, they don't get the treatment they need. And their life they're talking about performance, and especially since we're talking about body performance, that affects themselves, because a lot of people think PTSD is all mental. Back in the day, they call it shell shock, mental. You got these mental issues, they're mental, it's mental, yes, but there's so much more. And I'm glad that you had a chance to talk about the physical performance and body performance and wellness, because that's something that's near and dear to me. Because before PTSD and before I went to Gulf War and all that, I was a karate master. I did karate. When I was in the military, I did it from the time I was in the military to the 20 years. Good with karate, very well. But something about the PTSD, once I came back, I lost interest in that. I didn't work out as much as I used to. And I didn't have that desire. For some reason, I felt like I was defeated. And it wasn't because physically I changed, but physically, somewhere in that it didn't connect. It didn't connect for me anymore. I didn't want to do the training. I didn't want to run. I didn't want to go to the gym. And yes, mental had a lot to do with it. But when I didn't do the things to keep my body in shape, when I didn't do the workout, I wasn't disciplined enough to put in the reps, that became an issue. Because before I was spending 3 to 4 hours in a gym a day, and I was making a routine. I was doing so much in the morning, I do so much in the evening. But after that, somewhere the focus and desire left. And then when I wasn't putting in the time and doing it, in 1994, I did the last martial arts events I did. And my performance was so bad. From what everybody said I did well, but from what I knew I could have done and my wellness, that before that, I knew it was time to retire. It was time to give it up. Matter of fact, I haven't done much karate since then. Mm-hmm. So that affected me like that. And the second part of this, and I'll give you a minute, but I just want to get this out while it's to me, because that body fat, weight gain, and the belly fat, that's an issue with me right now. I'm a poster child for it, so that's all. I just wanted to tell you that that's an issue.
Right. I totally understand that. This is a vicious cycle, right? Because for myself, in dealing through and working through complex PTSD, once you it's sort of like once you get off that cycle of getting your, like you said, your reps, your exercise in, once you come off of that, and because you don't feel like it mentally, you don't feel like getting up doing that. Oftentimes you do feel like getting back in the bed, pulling the covers over your head, and just, and it's not every day. And that's kind of the, behind the scenes. It's not an everyday thing. Some days it's like, okay, yep, this day I'm scratching you off the calendar because it's been like that rough day. But what you realize is, and what I've come to realize is that when I force myself, like that self-talk is so important. When I become my own cheerleader and I talk gently, right? I talk myself, okay, when you do this, you're going to feel better, and really have those conversations with myself. So now I notice that when I do get up in the mornings and I do my stretching, or I get up in the mornings and I get on the bike for 30 minutes, when I do that, and this is some of the tricks that I play with myself. I'll get a book and I'll read that book while I'm on the bike. Those 30 minutes go by so fast. But if you're there on the bike and nothing else is occupying your mind, then it's, you get kind of like, oh, drudging through it. But when you make it exciting for yourself, and this is, one of the things I'll throw in there too. It's funny, just encouraging yourself. Right. So I get a book, something I'm interested in. And as I'm reading that book, now I'm starting to pedal even faster. So now that's helping. And when I'm off that bike during the day, I notice the difference. My body feels better. My mental clarity is better. So it's that vicious cycle of, once I stop and I get into that rut of not doing my exercise or not taking care of my body, then I get worse. It's a spiral. It's a downward spiral. But then when I do push myself back to doing it, in there, I'm drinking my water while I'm working out, I'm exercising, drinking the water. So all of these self-care plan, I'm living it out. And it does help you with your mental. It clears your mind and it helps you to feel better. But you're absolutely right. It is so hard on those days when that depression or that anxiety sits on your shoulder. You don't want to get up and do those things. But once you push through it, and we have resilience, and if we can build that resilience and just push through it, you will feel better. And then when you're exercising, you do look better because your clothes fit better. And so now you feel better all around. So you've kind of been your own cheerleader, if you will.
Listen to you talk. It's you're so organized. You're a little more. I feel you're a little more organized than I am in your thinking and how you do stuff. But I used to do exercise. When I was karate, I used to do the martial arts and go get away to the gym and work out as a way of getting away from things. That was my way of getting grounded and knowing I was alive and know I was happening. Things, I kept positive, and it was a tremendous force in my life. But then after PTSD, I lost that. I didn't seem like I couldn't get that joy of it anymore. That part was gone. I didn't think about techniques and all that stuff. I lost that, and that made me very concerned. So I started doing other stuff. And here's something I noticed when you talk about when you read the book. What helped me back in the day, I used to track my weight every day. Every day, it was one of my daily routines. I would drink water, I would get on the scale, then drink my water and all that. And that started my daily routine. But I used to look at my weight, and I went from, I was 195. I was 195 to maybe 210, 215. And I could see it. I used to keep logs and I kept the logs every year. And I went back and looked. I went from 215 to 222 to 250. Now I'm at two. I struggle to be under 250, under 255. I struggle now to do that. I can bounce all the way up to 260, but I fight because that optimum weight for me is somewhere between 235 and 245, and I struggle with that now. And it's, I could say, well, maybe I'm lazy, I'm not getting out and doing any things, but that's not the issue. The issue is I'm focused and driven. I'm not focused and driven like in that area anymore.
What helps as well? Excuse me. What helps as well is, well, we know isolation is what is it? Our kryptonite, if you will, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things. So this is a part of when you say organized. it's a part of, again, I go back to your mapping out a self-care plan. I don't mean just saying it. I mean actually mapping it out, journaling out a self-care plan and saying, okay, I know for me, I could not stand yoga at one point, right? And I like the deep stretching because of it releases a chemical, it does a chemical reaction in your body. And so that's what I look forward to. I look forward to feeling better. So then also having an accountability partner, because oftentimes we will be more caring towards somebody else than we will to ourselves, right? And that's a part of complex PTSD and PTSD. It's part of it's a people pleasing kind of mechanism, but we can turn that around and use that in our own favor by saying, okay, I have an accountability partner. So when you are accountable to somebody, you are less likely to cancel on them. And then if you've given them permission to keep their foot on your neck, and you keep your foot on their neck, then it helps you to get up and motivate. Like I have an accountability partner that I've been accountable to for the last 4 years, right? Every single morning. And I tell you, that has saved me so many times that I wanted to get back in the bed, because I know that I'm accountable to somebody else, and my word means everything to me. So that helps me to get up. And I know that in order for me to be accountable at my 8:30 or 9 o'clock morning meeting, I have to get up and do some other things to be ready for that meeting. So now it pushes me when I want to cut the clock off and go back to sleep. Wait, you know, you only have that hour or what have you. So I'm putting those things into place, coaching myself to say, I have to eat breakfast. You know, I have to drink my water. So I have to get on my bike, because I know at 8:30 or sometimes 9 o'clock, that meeting starts. So that also, when you put those things in place, that helps to get you organized, and it helps keep you on track of what you're doing. There is a program, and I don't know the specific program, but this is the philosophy behind it. When you're suffering from, one of my coaches says it is neurospicy. That's what he calls it.
Say it again. I missed that.
He calls it neurospicy. When we're explaining PTSD, complex PTSD, depression, or any of those things, even what is it? Attention deficit disorder,
okay,
where
I understand that.
When we have all those, we have these kind of challenges. That's one of the things why awareness is so important. Because when I was walking in denial, I didn't put these kind of steps or measures in place, right? I didn't have these little checkpoints for myself, because I'm in denial. I'm like everybody else. I'm good. Everybody have a bad day. But what happens is when you become aware that you have a challenge, or you know something is going on with you that's different from everybody else, it defeats us to try to do as everybody else does. We have to make sure that we are holding ourselves accountable. So I put little sticky notes everywhere to remind myself of certain things, because things will, you'll lose it. I put people in place to help me. So when you're sitting down, and even if it's just a study partner, and I'm working on my business and they're working on their business, it still helps us to get things done and to stay focused and concentrate. So all of these little things that we put into place helps us to perform better on the end. So we get a better result. And then guess what? When we get a better result for ourselves, we feel better, and it does not take us in that spiral of being depressed. Now, I say it like it's simple, but I promise you, it is not simple, but it is very doable. And it just depends on what's your result? What do you want to come? What do you want?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Imagine driving down the road, enjoying a beautiful day, when suddenly a tree jumps out in front of your car. Crash! In an instant, your life is flipped upside down, both physically and psychologically. That was my reality. I'm Liz Blanding, a certified holistic wellness and trauma recovery coach. In a time when, according to the National Center for PTSD, the epidemic of trauma is on the rise, 70% of adults in the U.S. have experienced some type of traumatic event at least once in their lives. That's 223.4 million people who could benefit from support on their journey to recovery. To address this, I launched a Get Trauma Informed podcast in March 2024. Our podcast offers free information, resources, expert advice, and stories of those who have overcome trauma and shifted from surviving to thriving. The podcast has the capacity to reach hundreds of thousands of people. I believe that by partnering with the Get Trauma Informed podcast, we can provide critical support to many more people who need it. Trauma was not their fault, but recovery is their responsibility. And with your support, we can help them to achieve it. Thank you for considering the partnership opportunity. I look forward to the possibility of working together to make a significant impact on trauma recovery. Email us at info@oasiswellnessctrs.com or contact us at 616-320-0703. Now we will return to our Get Trauma Informed conversation.
Coach Liz, you're talking real good right about now. I gotta tell you, you talking real good right about now. You sounding good, and I was at I co-signed a majority of what you just said. But
Okay.
I gotta tell you, a lot of people get confused when they hear you talk like that, especially me, because you parade it around a lot better than it looks like. When you say it, you say it so well, and you make people think that, oh man, she ain't got no PTSD, she ain't got no severe complex PTSD. She's so organized, she got all these things working for her and all that. But people don't understand that what you see in these few minutes that we're together right now, this is our best foot forward. You don't see the behind the scenes, you don't know the backstories, and we're trying to bring that out a little bit now to you now, because be honest with you, that's the reason why I'm here on your podcast right now. I'm a first partaker. We're trying to help the community and people suffering in silence. We're trying to get the information out of them. But I'm the first partaker. That's one reason why I volunteered to do this. Because when I saw the topic, beyond the battlefield of trauma, overcoming military PTSD and civilian complex PTSD, when I saw that, I said, wow. And I know, and I heard some of your work on your podcast, and I said, you know what, this is a chance for me to go and glean some stuff from Coach Liz. I can get some stuff that I can use. And then once I realized the total, and I saw the big picture, I looked under the hood, because the audience, they haven't seen what you've shown me already. So I'm excited.
Yes,
because you have the thing coming up on the 25th, the live event where we talk to the audience, and we're live in front of people, and they can ask questions. They can interact with you or I, and we kind of let our guard down a little bit, and we be vulnerable, and we get to talk and share firsthand.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want people to understand this is a work in progress. This is a work in progress for me as well. And I think that you see the excitement and the joy, because I'm so happy to be out of that dark, dark, dark space. And so every day that I get up, I'm saying, this is every day that I get up, I think about, let's not sweat the small stuff. I have these conversations with myself. So not only do I have conversations with other people as far as holding me accountable, but that was something I had to get over, letting people in. And that's what we're going to talk about in the live event on the 25th. It's so important that you let other people in, because remember, our comfort zone is isolation, because we've never felt safe. So it takes a lot. It took a lot for me to come out and do a podcast. I'm telling you, when I share exactly what it took to do that, you're like, how did she keep doing it? But because I know that my pain was not in vain, and it wasn't just for me. It was to help other people overcome this, which we can overcome it. Let me paint this picture, right? I have to slow down sometimes too, because I'll chop over my words with my excitement. Think about the movie with Denzel in it, the movie Flight, right?
Okay.
We talk about, and I liken it to, when we have complex PTSD or PTSD, our brain is not functioning the way that it was intended to function, right? And just like, for me, I had to come to the realization, man, I was put into, it sounds a little funny now, but it's not. It's in the movie Flight, Denzel was put in a broken plane. He flipped that plane upside down and he flew that plane. And so I'm very visual. So I like those visualizations. Say, wait a minute, doesn't matter that I wasn't put in a regular brain and my brain doesn't function regularly. It does not stop me from flipping whatever comes my way upside down and pushing through it. And that's what all of these steps and these modalities and all the things that I'm talking about, the things that we need, that we can do to live full out. And that's what we're going to talk about on the 25th. We're going to talk about all of these little steps that you can take, but it does take getting involved, letting other people in, but it also takes being discerning of who you should let in. So it's a huge undertaking, but this is life. This is the clay that we've been given, and we can make a masterpiece out of it. It just takes us being dedicated to the process.
I'm glad you said that. And I really want people to know that there is a place for psychiatrists, therapists in PTSD, and it's their services are needed and welcomed, because you have to sort through things. And sometimes it's bigger than you and it's bigger than me, and you need someone to help you sort through that. And that professional end is excellent to do that. But there's a part of this that you need to have like mind. You need to have followed someone that's been there. Somebody need to have led breadcrumbs, so someone have been through the fire, the same type of fire that you've been through, to know what it is to be burnt, know what it is to be at a disadvantage, know what it is to struggle, know what it is, the daily routine, know what it is to get back out there. Even when you want to find something, whether it's work or whether it's relationship, whether it's sex or whatever it is, to find a way back to who you think you need to be, or find a comfortable area where you can close yourself off to the world. And that's one thing. When you was telling us about the thing you're going to do on the 25th of Live, that's exciting to me. I can't wait to be a part of that. I'm asking your audience, everybody come, because they can share some. Will you allow some of the people to share their stories on that event?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love interactive. I love it. Love when things are interactive. We just did a podcast with a young lady from the refugee camp, and she talked about people that have trauma there. So yes, we're talking about military PTSD. We're talking about complex PTSD or civilian PTSD, but there are so many people that have been touched by trauma, so many populations of people. And we're saying this is open to you. If you suffer some type of trauma, or you want to help somebody else to get through their trauma, and understand that there are safe spaces. That's the big piece right there. There are safe spaces where we can recover. And I also love to always remind us that recovery is not a one and done. This is a lifestyle. And that's what you and I were talking about. Pieces of the lifestyle. And I just want to go back to one thing. When you said that about like my recovery journey is going to look so different from your recovery journey, but there are so many pieces or bits and pieces that you can take and make it your own. That's why it's just as individual as our fingerprint. It touches our bodies different. It manifests in our physical different, and at different times, because as we start to get older, the one thing that we must understand is that trauma is progressive. If it's not addressed, it's going to catch up with you some shape, form, or fashion. It does not go away. It may lay there dormant for a time, but it will show up. I'm having a lot of women that are coming to me now that are going through menopause trauma, and a lot of it, and your experience is going to be based on whether you handled the trauma when you were younger, or whether you handled the trauma or did it stack on top of each other, like mine stacked on top of each other, and all of a sudden a tree had to jump in front of my car for me to stop.
The tree jumped in front of your car.
A tree jumped in front of my car and caused an accident, right?
Okay, all right. You got jokes.
A tree had to jump in front of my car for me to now address, right?
Jokes.
I'm saying it. Something will happen in your life, and it will cause you to address it and look at it. And it won't be maybe at an opportune time. You might be busy doing something. Like me, I was busy in my life, and then the accident happened, and then now I had to address the complex PTSD that I didn't even know was there. So yes. I didn't have a choice. But the point that I'm making here is that we must address it, because it will show up in our bodies. It will show up in our topic today. It'll show up in weight gain, or it'll show up even in myself. It showed up at a point where I couldn't swallow. The trauma was so deep that I couldn't eat. I couldn't swallow. I had to literally go to Ensure, and I was trying to put weight on because I was losing weight too fast. And it was all that mental, that trauma psychological trauma showing up physically when I literally could not swallow anything but liquid. And that went on for a long period of time. I dropped so much weight so fast, I was really, it scared me. And I was trying to drink some Ensure and eat some pistachio ice cream. I was doing everything in there that I could think of to help me to gain the weight because I literally couldn't swallow. So I just want everybody to understand that trauma will show up in your body if you do not address it. So we're here to say, look, this is about getting aware, getting informed, and having some practical steps to put together your own personal plan. So again, I say trauma is not your fault. However, recovery is our responsibility. So this is the opportunity to get the tools and fill your toolkit with the tools that you need to overcome trauma.
Yeah, because body fat, the weight gain in body fat, that itself sets you up for bad things of health. The high blood pressure, the stress of those things, and borderline diabetes and all that. It's so much that PTSD, when wellness and performance and the weight gain and the body fat has so many other implications on other things. So sometimes you have to realize you got to get the help. And it's sometimes not all fun.
No.
Sometimes not all fun, but when you can get a community and get people that work for you, and you said something early on about accountability partner, that's a plus. And for us, that's going to be really difficult because a lot of times we try to be private and we try to have our own space so we don't let people in.
Absolutely.
So that accountability partner sometimes get to be an issue. But if you have a community that you can, correspond with and people that like-minded, that know what you've been through, have been, right where you are, even if there's a little dressed up better than yours, you still can help each other. And that's pretty much it. I know we run out of time because I see me and you, we have so many stories to tell. But I'll tell my story. But now in my third car wreck, because I wrecked 4 cars in Saudi Arabia during the Gulf War. So my third one was that I was driving by myself, and I got up early that morning, and I've been driving for about 4 hours. I was going in deep into the interior of Saudi Arabia, trying to get to where the Kuwait side. But when I was driving, for some reason, I felt I was daydreaming. I didn't fall asleep, but I began to daydream about something that transpired a couple of days before that. And next thing I know, I was on a medium and couldn't move. I hit the medium and turned, and the car it wouldn't go forward because I was stuck on the medium. So, and somebody took a picture of the car being stuck on the medium, and with me standing there, that was a picture somebody showed my commander. So that was hard to live that one down.
I'm sure.
That was hard to live that one down. So
did they post a picture up in the barracks?
No. When I saw my commander, he showed me the pictures. I don't know. That was enough to.
Oh my goodness. I tell you, it's so much, so very much. I'm gonna wrap us up with this though. Okay. And thank goodness that all of those wrecks that you had, look, we have that in common. All those wrecks that you had, though, that you were still able to come back home and now be here to help us out and help us to see what that picture looks like. One other thing that I wanted to share while we're on body performance. There are so many people that are working in this whole world of mukbangs, or whether on shows, and I mean on especially on YouTube, and they're eating and eating and eating and eating. And when you see their transformations, as far as especially the ones that are like gaining weight, I sit there and I put a call out, because that's trauma. That's how they're soothing, because they're still isolated, even though they're in front of a camera, but they're isolated and they're eating and slowly eating themselves to death. So when we isolate, it's not good for us, right? It's totally not good for us, but we can see that played out all over the place. Now that when you become aware, you see it everywhere and say, wow. So eating, like you said, eating can be a soother. And then as you're doing that, you're becoming unhealthy. So just a call out for everybody, because we are talking about military and civilian, but we are also talking about anybody that have suffered some form of trauma. There is help and assistance available. So
Yes.
we look forward to seeing you on live on the 25th. As Mr. Carpenter talked about, we do have some support that is coming up. We have a roundtable. Well, let's go back. We have the event on the 25th, and then we have a 8-week Beyond the Battlefield course that can help you put all these little strategies in order and help take baby steps at it, because it is a baby step. It's a baby step, baby step, baby step. And then also, and then roundtable of support after that, so that you'll be able to talk through and work through whatever issues that you may be having in a safe space. So we look forward to seeing you in our program and for the live. So until next time, Mr. Carpenter, do you have anything that you want to leave us with today?
Well, all I want to say is you don't have to suffer in silence. You have someone that's been where you've been through before, leaving breadcrumbs. So be there.
All righty. Enough said. You all have a wonderful day, and we will see you next time. Bye for now. It's time to buckle up. No more suffering in silence. Our Power Pack journey to recovery and realignment starts now. Remember, you are collateral damage on someone else's warpath. Trauma is not your fault. Recovery, however, is your responsibility. I'm your host, Wellness Coach Liz Blanding, and this is the Get Trauma Informed podcast.